Yes, yes. So I'm very excited. Have you pressed start, John?
Yeah.
Right. I'm very excited to be able to introduce my dad, distinguished Professor Huang. He's at the University of Wollongong, and Dad's big specialty is brain research, brain science and brain research. And in fact, we were talking just before when Dad finished with medical school, he came out to Australia to spend 10 months on a brain mapping project. And thought he'd be going home at the end of that, but actually got offered a scholarship to do a PhD out here, which he completed on neuroanatomy. For the amateurs in the room, neuro means brain, and you'll be hearing it a lot, I think. From there, Dad's also done a second PhD more recently in neuroendocrines, which is to do with brain regulation, and that was part of his Doctor of Science, which is, how would you summarize that? A Doctor of Science is like a degree or a...
degree.
Yeah.
That's right. The highest.
The highest.
Yeah, that's it. And at the University of Wollongong, there's only been 3 in the history of time, and Dad's one of them. After John's dad moved out here to Australia, 5 years later, John's mum and John came and joined them. And John's mum's also a scientist in her own right, perhaps not with the titles that you have, but definitely with the science brain. She was a hematologist before she came out to Australia. And I think a lot of your partnership reminds me of Pierre and Marie Curie in terms of the collaboration that happens outside the lab. So since then, Dad's written 6 books, over 300 publications, and he's got over 18,000 citations. And at the moment, he is it's got a teaching load at the University of Wollongong. He's teaching 260 students about research methods and analysis, and continuing to do brain research at the moment into molecular nutrition and government-funded work on better drugs for mental health, with a focus on schizophrenia. That's probably, you've also overseen 31 PhD completions, which, in all your free time, right? And Dad also is very actively collaborating with China and the US and Europe on research stuff and staying up to date with the latest research in that one too. Hi, welcome. Please come and take a seat. I'm just introducing my dad, distinguished Professor Huang. He's called the Professor, we worked that out. And Dad's very happy to come and chat today. He's happy to take questions, but maybe let's save it and we'll ask questions in chunks, because otherwise we might go off on a big tangent somewhere. Dad's also got a presentation to show you today. And if you have topics of particular personal interest, we're more than happy to answer questions about that too. So without any further ado, it's Dad's turn.
Thank you.
Thank you.
First, thank you, Alice, for this event. I always think the research in the lab, whatever we found, we should disseminate the information to the community, one way or another. People do make other publications, get promotions, from tutor and myself into lecture, senior lecturer, assistant professor, etc. But by the end of the day, we are paid by the government. Our research is funded by the national savings, called the National Health Medical Research Council. To be honest, that's the taxpayers' money. So I always think anywhere if we invite you to give a talk for what we do for the general population, for the community, I will have no hesitation to present the results, get some feedback. Learning is 2 ways. I learn from you first, and I present some of our results. I love this village. The philosophy, the thinking is great. We've probably gone too far in terms of development. Maybe someone can say in terms of a brain scientist, maybe our brain developed too fast or to destroy ourselves. On the other hand, we're trying to find out the ways to solve the problems, make ourselves more healthier, live longer and healthier. that is the topic I want to focus on for today's talk. I will not go down to very detailed the research in terms of neurobrain chemistry or the compared to those terrible those jargons. But I'm trying to stay on. But if I did, but let me know. I will come back. So this is my group. The place is called Illawarra Health Medical Research Institute in the Illawarra, in the coast, close the Wollongong University, nice university, very pleasant. This is my group. Actually, it's really international. Many Australian students, people from overseas, from Indonesia, from Germany, from China, from everywhere. It's international. Anything we do in terms of research, no one can do everything. It's impossible. Too much work. We need to collaborate as a team, as a communities to solve even tiny little problems in health. Now, I'll give you an overview of what do we do in the lab. We have a really state-of-the-art facility in the place. In Australia, as you know, with the population, with the achievement, is one of the best in medical research. We have had 6 Nobel laureates. So this is, you can't really argue with that. It's really, the research is really top-notch research in Australia. I have a special lecture on that, how this history developed, who got the Nobel Prize and why in Australia. Yeah. So maybe we'll find another chance. I have another chance. Yeah. So, but by saying that, really we got all the facility basically we need, even in Wollongong University is there. So basically we have this vision. We want to improve the health. One approach is through the drug. Any drug today, you have the therapeutic effect. Also, you have the side effect. The area people working on antipsychotics, psychosis, people taking antipsychotic drug that develop obesity, metabolic syndrome, type diabetes, all that. You don't want that. You want to get a better treatment. Therefore, there are plenty of work need to be done. That's only one aspect, actually. Another thing is whether nature already made those molecules for us. Can we just use them? We eat them every day. Can we make them better for us? Not just the one worse to our health. Now, those are the basic concepts. The approach, we're really looking for what is really disease we call pathology, and we're trying to translate into the practical means. So I was doing the brain health. This is the mental health or the brain disease. This is a very, look like a lot of pictures. Do not focus on to read all of them, it's too much. But give the basic concept. Number one is called brain disease. Number two is called mental health. They are very different. They're completely different categories. Brain disease, normally you have the brain structure damage. For example, Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, trauma, stroke. You have a brain material there, the cell structure getting damaged. You can see them. Under the imaging, we call it MRI, magnetic resonance imaging, you can see. However, mental illness on the right-hand side, your side, when you have a look at it, this is the things you cannot see. Meaning, schizophrenia, you can't see what's happening in the brain. You can take an image, you don't see what's happening. You can take an image of people with depression, severe depression, manic disorder. You don't see the pathology. But how you can diagnose that? Through the talk, through the other means. They don't have the brain structure damage, even the anxiety disorder. So those are two different categories. So let's say you have a specific course, but in terms of, say, give me an overview. What causes my brain doesn't work very well? Tell me. What are the main things?
Usually family linked to mental similar traits.
Absolutely. Any other things?
You got them all up there.
I'm going to absolutely cover that first.
Too high.
Like drug or alcohol?
Very.
Alcohol, drug abuse,
Poor nutrition.
poor nutrition. I can give any of what you said an example of clinical cases. But I do aware, this is like a free chat, you can ask me a question any. So you see the genetics certainly play an important role. For example, the schizophrenia. They have the genetic background. Then even what I'm trying to say, give just one little idea. Even the twins, they have identical gene from the schizophrenia family. So only 60% of the person will develop a schizophrenia. Can you tell me why? There must be something else beyond the gene contribute to the disease. Okay, same idea. I use another way to explain this. Is you have these inherited problems, if we call it the problems there, but you do not have to have the disease. You do not have to have the disease at 20 years of age. 22 years for girls, 18 for boys. That's the fact. There's no such thing, a children has schizo. There's no such thing. They turn on at that age. They are different between the girls and boys. We can talk about that in another, but what I'm saying is the genes certainly play a critical role, but not absolutely essential. You have to go down at the top. Another thing, say, the environmental. The little girls, not right now. Take example from the Second World War. The orphans, they've been abused in the camp. Later on, the much higher incidence of mental illness. Because at 1 year, 2 years of age, their brain is so critical in the development, in the modeling. The boys or girls at 2 years doesn't mean there will be John or Vanessa. But only after the full brain development become that person. They have a personality, they have the thinking, they have the knowledge. Therefore, what I'm trying to say is the brain development in the early childhood, the environmental impact. For example, there's a hunger period. The schizophrenia will increase 3 or 4 times more compared to the place without any problem of food. Winter, lack of vitamin D will increase the mental illness. Therefore, the brain development is certainly another aspect of nutrition as well. Another thing is the biological. Biological means we call it the epigenetics. You even have same gene due to the development of something, the food, I think they can interact with the brain. Also, psychological. The family, the things, the friends, that you don't want to get into the cluster with bad boys, or you should not stop them. Should have good environment for the children to have a better life in the future. Therefore, what I'm saying here is the mental health is multifactorial. Nothing really, one thing will do 100%. So today we want to talk about the nutrition. So what we eat make what we are if we go to the extreme. So at a different age of your life, your food choice might change. In the lab, we can make the mice change their choice of food. The mice, even though they like the oily food, mice like oil, rodents, rats, mice, they like eat oily food.
Peanut butter.
Yeah.
Indeed.
But by the brain chemistry, you can manipulate them in a chemical term, change them into the vegetarian in one day. So this is a biological. We can do that actually pretty easily. We do not develop pills for that, but it's biological. So in terms of what we eat, first, let's say this is rather a picture. We take the food from into the mouth and go into your pharynx, esophagus, stomach, intestine, jejunum, etc. This is your called GI tract, gastrointestinal tract. Gastro is the stomach, intestinal tract goes through this whole pathway go there. Then the entire pathway actually got the neurochemistry into it to tell the brain, yeah, today I'm eating the oily food. I had a barbecue at lunchtime. Then you need to secrete more those bile fluid to digest the fat compared to if you just eat vegetable. The whole system can sense that. When they're coming to the end, which is called the large intestine, in the large intestine we have the sense to tell the brain if there is some nutrition in your large intestine to the end, that will tell the brain stop, because you don't need that much nutrition. This is called the break. So the whole system is so tightly regulated. So this is called the gut-brain axis. So what we eat is pretty important that I will tell the brain. This only take one aspect. We do not take about rewarding and craving. If there is a French cake in front of you, which is I won't have a bite. You haven't eaten yet. You want to have a bite. That wanting behavior is what we call craving. It's regulated. After you have the first bite, you say, I want to have the second bite. That's so nice. Okay. This is called rewarding. Rewarding is extremely important because you can overeat. Because it's so nice.
Really?
Food.
Who would overeat cake?
However, if you keep eating that cake for a whole week, then you start to sick of that cake. So this is biological regulated. We call it gut-brain regulation. Yeah, it can go very complicated how our gut talks to the brain. We are far away from the gut to the brain, so far away. But actually, in fact, it's very tightly regulated. Actually, if you say something extreme, say for our human, how many genes? We're talking about millions. If we talk the bacteria inside our gut, we talk about trillions. They're much more than us. You say we control our gut, that community, the community called the microbiota. You say we control them, then we'll say we control you. This goes really extreme. If you are stressed, you can have diarrhea. If they are upset, we'll never be happy. But they can. I'll give you one example. The person with a severe, very severe depression, very severe depression. What do? Is to take their feces and just simply take out their microbiome, inject it, put that into another mice. Mice become depressed. Very simple. But it says a lot.
Can I ask how you gauge depression
In mice, the depression, the scientists develop a suite of tests that can measure the depression. I'll give you a couple of examples. With the mice and the rat, they are good in swimming. They don't have to then you put them in there and swim, they're happy to swim. But with depressed minds, they just give up, they can drown very quickly. Number one. Number two, it's not only one test, a set of tests. Then you put them in a box with the fixed light strength, we call it 100 lux letter strength. They're not too bright, not too dark. They should be happy to see the food somewhere, but they don't. With depression, they hide in the corner. They do not come up. There are a couple of other things. I have some pictures to show you how we're going to measure that. But none of that can completely represent the human depression. But a many drugs, you can't use the human to give a test before. Make sure human is safe or that. So there are a whole set of the things. Like myself, I use a worm to study the aging. Because for us, when we age, take 60, 70 years, there's no way we can study that. It's too hard. Another thing I'm trying to tell is that I will use mice. Mice were alive for a year and a half or 2 years. Still very hard. Costs you a lot of money to keep those mice, to feed them. But I use worms, they're getting old in 7 days.
No.
So you can test them very quickly. So there's a lot of, actually, an Australian scientist, I'm not sure if you heard his name. He actually is in the University of New South Wales. He found this anti-aging. He even tried to appeal to his father. When his father, 75 years, he become close to 50 years of age, married a new young girl. That was to the extreme. But it was on the science and nature, you know. And also he invented this called the resveratrol. Probably you have heard when you have to drink one glass of red wine from the grape seeds, you can purify that. You make the Drosophila, the younger, live longer. But in terms of how to make us, if we have a glass of wine, make us younger. There's no evidence on that, but we probably have a lot. But a new one actually coming out. It's called NMN. It's another more NMN is more powerful, make us so-called younger. I'm not sure. When I took a pill, I try anything to make us better. Actually, make me feel pretty hot, pretty warm. But I'm not sure it will make me younger. But
so why is it on the market? Why?
Yeah,
why is it making gazillions of dollars for UNSW and the Australian government?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
So I think why not? It's another one. This is John Kay. He from Adelaide. He invented found out this Helicobacter pylori. He didn't make any money off it.
No.
Zero. But they made this in Sweden. In 1 year they can buy 3 or 4 universities like one just for the profit, one pill. This here doesn't have the strong support to money-driven time, which we should. Good science doesn't really translate. I hope in next few years, in the future, we should do that. So, just to give you another example, see here, this is our gut, the first line. This is our neuron cell. I don't want you to understand all that, but one concept is so easy to understand. I'm somewhere, maybe back here. So that's where my gut microbiota profile. That's the people young, 30 like yourself, 30, 40 years of age. What I'm trying to say, our gut and microbiome is different. Therefore, you cannot say, when you're getting 50 or 60 years of age, you cannot say, I'm okay when I'm young, I eat this, I eat that. But you have to treat it differently. When I get old, I have to treat myself more careful because I'm a bit more on high risk side. Therefore, the aging itself is a risk factor for the health. You got to look after yourself. That's the simple concept I want to say. You are different. We are. I am different from when I was 20 years of age. I can tolerate many things I might not be able to. So that therefore, when we getting older, we have to look after ourselves because our biological things has changed. Here's another example. The same idea like before. Simply, I just want to point out. When we, this mouse, this is even 20 years of age, 76 years of age. So when we're getting older, you see the brain there got red, little red color there. This is called inflammation. Then you say, why we have to have the inflammation when we're getting older? Why the older people cannot cope with COVID as good as the young people? Because when we're getting old, there's something called inflammation. And where did it come from? Because one might have diabetes, I might have stress, I might have something that is left over there. The children hasn't got that. Therefore, what I'm saying, trying to come to the next concept is we have to eat something healthy. Oh, this is just one example which I did. I did in this project. Actually, we would have to read some statistics. Basically, I had the patient with schizophrenia. I took them their feces, look at the microbiome. They are completely different. Therefore, we have to do something to what they eat. This is just one. The patient is still alive. Good. Yeah, trying to do something for them. Therefore, for today, I just with all those introductions, I want to come up with like anti-inflammation and anti-oxidative stress. We don't need those stress anymore.
No.
We don't need that. We don't need to keep us from more damage. Something happened, we just cannot cope. So this needs to start early, rather than wait until we are in the trouble. So we need to start early. So if you do a statistic analysis, get an epidemiology, you make a ranking, say, hey, what is the anti-inflammation food? I want to eat the food anti-inflammation. When you are older, when you have the metabolic or something basic, some conditions, even not doing proper exercise, something when you get older, the inflammation is not automatic, it's there. The aging, the time left over, causing those stress cells, causing inflammation. If you rank all the food, we can see it there. Number one, most good anti-inflammation food is the fish oil, still. Until yesterday, I checked. But maybe another couple of years later, they might have re-ranked the whole thing again. But for today, yes, omega-3, you know, omega-3 in the omega-3 in the food. But you do not take more than 6. Australian regulations, no more than 6, otherwise you get bleeding. The platelets, they can cause problem.
Is that fish oil tablets?
Yeah,
Where do you
the capsule, no more than 6.
Where do you bleed if you take too many?
Just everywhere you can see the skin, everywhere get a bleeding because they thin your blood. You know the most Eskimos people, they eat a lot of fish because they live shorter because they're bleeding. So you cannot take too many. That's not good. Yeah. Berry, because they are very strong antioxidant. The green leaf food, they have rich in vitamins, and the vegetable and the nuts is very good. Nuts is very good. And olive oil, I saw some olive trees before I visited that's getting cut.
Yeah.
I still have 2, I count how many left in the village. Quite a few. But when we come in, that's been cut. So this olive oil, I've been very interested in getting something out from olive leaves. There are something very precious there. Another thing you probably have heard is turmeric, the antioxidant. They sell it as a supplement in the shops. But I have to mention, some they say it's good, but when you come to the research lab, you measure them, they are not there. Some product even zero. So sometimes you just cannot trust whether you buy, whether you see the label. It's just not there. So therefore, we just did the whole experiment and collected all the product we can buy from the shops. Actually, they claim it doesn't mean they are there. So the quality control on the market is not far from really claiming what they have.
Is there a way that you can be sure that you're taking a good supplement?
Yeah, but the research lab, for us, it's easy, we can measure them. But to tell the people is a big issue, the company don't like that. So that's the reality really for today. When I sell you, it doesn't mean they have it. Something just fake. Oh, I would say that. There's nothing in it sometimes, just they claim. So those are the bad ones, causing the inflammation. So you need to eat the whole grain, not the really refined food. Sugar, you can take sugar, which is great, making you hedonic, very rewarding, but you should not keep taking too much sweet food, particularly for children. It's not good for them. It doesn't really need to fluctuate like you push your car oil, boom, goes up, glucose, then drop. It's not good for them. Saturated fat increase the bad cholesterol, lipoprotein, LDL, etc. Those are the bad food. You can have them, but not too often. Not too often. Trans fat, fried food, excessive alcohol, and one glass of wine proven to be good for you because you got a respiratory in it, antioxidant. So those are the food. So this is a bit more complicated, but summarize the whole concept in terms of what I do, in terms of the molecular nutrition. One picture shows everything. So I'll focus on the brain, look there. So here is really stress. You don't want to be too stressed. So stress can come from many places, like a psychological, physical stress. It can come from environmental, inflammation, metabolic, or disease, and produce the ROS, we call it reactive oxygen species. It's like you put a tomato there and there, then damage your cell, then cause a disease.
That's a terrible looking tomato.
Yeah, that was a very bad tomato after, those oxidative stress. And in terms of the neuroinflammation, you can see there, we don't have to remember all this, but the concept is, doesn't matter if you have depression, anxiety, ADHD, schizophrenia, dementia. There's something common. Inflammation, brain inflammation. It's a common thing. Therefore, inflammation is not the cause of the disease, but they are there. If the cause of the disease, for example, gene, then you have that environment we call homeostasis. That environment is so bad that will speed up the process of the disease. That's not what you want. We don't want that. Therefore, anti-inflammation, you don't want to take the pill every day, but you can do that through the food, particularly as a prevention, which is absolutely essential. You said, no, I haven't cured the root of the disease, but you prevent, you're trying to prevent, trying to slow down the disease. It's as important as, from my concept, from my point of view, it's absolutely essential as you're treating the disease itself. Tell me how many diseases we can completely cure. Not many. Pneumonia, yeah, that's one. And the second one, not that many. You depend on your own immune system. You try to use your own system to defend. The drugs are trying to help you to do that. The molecular nutrition doing exercise the same. So I'm really, for me, my lab is doing three things. Number one, I'm interested in the triterpenes. Triterpenes, for example, olive the tree we can extract from there. Also the ginseng, ginseng, and one molecule in the ginseng is called ginseng side. RB1 we can extract from the tea. We can get the tritopin. Then you can get all this is from the olive. Because you can see those plants, they have the structure chemically quite similar. Not only they have the anti-inflammation, they have anti-cancer effect. So when I learn the plant medicine, you see there are something, of course, given the plants there, they share the common structure, but they spread in the different plants. Then people say, when I eat this, I can cure this. I can eat that. Actually, in fact, they have science in it. They are share the same thing. What about if we take them out to treat the disease? That's what I'm doing. Another thing, like I said, I like the beta glucan. The beta glucan they come from the oats. We have this company in Australia called Uncle Toby's. They give me. They heard of this news. They said, "Yeah, we'll give you for $380,000. Trying to if you can get something out, then we can do something good for the people." I said, "Yeah, I will do it." I just did 3 years of research. Here, give us a basic concept: is oats beta glucan compared with wheat and mushroom. Their structure is different. Because their structure is different, they have different function. We can take them out to test them, to make things we want to do for disease, particular disease. Another thing, on the scientific chair for the marijuana, this is cannabinoid, the cannabinoid, CBD research. There are a lot of them. So we try to see which one, particularly working on this called CBD, to extract them out for treating the disease. I'm not a huge fan about using this, but in the certain condition, it's absolutely beneficial to the patients in the last few weeks of their life. Yeah, we can. Maybe not the time to go through all that, but it's something very useful.
And what Uncle Toby's wonderful.
Uncle is a wonderful company. However, they sold their company to the New Zealand. You do the sell them again to the Nestle. Now it's Nestle owns everything, not Australia.
And the oats beneficial?
Absolutely. I will show you some results if I have more time. As from scientific, when we did, I don't know, maybe 15 international publications. We did on human, we did on rat, and mice, whatever. Now, we tried everything we could, trying to see whether it really work or not. How to make it work better. I might present some results in the following couple of slides. So in terms of molecular nutrition, exactly like you said, why can't we make it, put out, make some money? See how big the market, back even more. In the projection, 178 billion. That's a lot of money. Huge, huge, huge everywhere. People, they work for some. So this. You see, if you go to the shops, they go to the shops, something like that. You see, you have all the variety. But people honestly can't trust them. It's just people sometimes complicate the things. Talk about oats. When I talk about the oats, I take the oats from Europe, Australia, Taiwan, and many other places. And start to compare them. Different place, different soil. Produce different thing. The one you really want is only a few places, but not everywhere. Everywhere, other places just a carbohydrate. There's nothing there, nothing in it. Therefore, even they claim they have the made of oats, but the nutrients are just not there.
So where do you get the good oats from?
From my research, the best is still from Europe. The place, the cold, has to be cold. Another thing is the harvest time has to be longer, not when they, before they really complete that as 1 week, you cut them, there's nothing there, it's just so low. So you got to tell the farmer how to harvest. Those other little things are essential to control to have the nutrients. When I got from Taiwan, at least from that batch, it's nothing, it's very low. It's still oats, nothing, it's too warm, too humid. Nutrient does not concentrate. So they still can claim I'm made of the oats. So they are very different. So why battery fiber? So what is battery fiber? For example, we have soluble, insoluble, all those kinds. What is too much? If we believe we come from the monkey, let's talk about the years. This is 2023 years, even before that, BCE time, go back. So actually our food chain has changed a lot. From hunting lack of food to today, only 30 to 50 years, we have plenty of food supply, which makes a big difference.
Oh dear.
For example, today, that's where we are. People eat the fast food, etc. All this, that's why we have so in Australia we have 46% people with metabolic alterations. It's a huge problem. So that will increase the risk. That's why we have so many type of 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, which is #1 killer in Australia. So, I guess the simple concept I want to deliver here is 50 years, think about 50 years ago, what do we eat? And today, there's no one here now, particularly in this country, feel they're starving. We just can get the food anywhere. Even in the university, people from we offer the free food and a big lunch for them, free. If you are really do not have the money to buy the food. So therefore, food is not a problem. Particularly with the developed country, the good example is in the US, really. The fast food, obesity, is a big problem for the last 20, 30 years. But not before, if we talk about 60 years ago, it was not like that. Now compare that simply with your gene. For 60 years, how much gene we have changed? No. We don't change the gene at all. We change the gene, talk about 1,000 years to change our gene. The food chain change is so quick. Another example in China. When I came here, I was a farmer. 25, 30 years ago, I was a farmer. I'm working in the land. There's no way I can fill my stomach full when we were in non-harvest time. You just eat half full. You're hungry all the time. That's what you are. Now you eat a sweet potato, next 1 hour later you're hungry again because it doesn't last very long. However, today, everyone can have enough food. Our gene doesn't change. The concept is, can you cope? Can your gene cope with that fast change? Answer is no. So we have to talk about how to take more step back, eat the more nature food. Here we just put out some statistics. So for example, here it's about the death or the mortality. From 1 paper, 2 papers, 3 papers, 4 papers. But we do a summary, put together, not from a single one paper, who said, which paper good science says. It's not like that. We do not take that too seriously as a scientist. We take all together 10 papers, for example, to do a summary, see what it really tells us. Therefore, dietary fiber, you see, low fiber diet will increase the risk of disease, or in this case, it's a death. Depression does the same thing. We just did the statistics and increase the depression. As they say, oh, why increase depression? And increase the metabolic syndrome, for example, obesity, type 2 diabetes, even without obesity, type 2 diabetes. Okay, talk about a little bit of, talk about other people's work, then talk about a little bit of my work, our work in the wormhole. We look at the two type of beta glucan. If you look at the structure chemically, oligosaccharide, they are quite similar, but when they bind together, slightly change the side of binding. If we look into the biology side, you see there and there. You can take them out, but they have totally different effect. This is good for your cholesterol. This is good for your immune system. Any questions you want to ask me?
No.
I'll keep talking.
Yeah. Thank you.
So simply, I'll show you one example. You can extract them out. You can see the concentration, how much beta glucan in it, which is pretty easy in the lab. You can do that. You can get rid of all other things. Just take the beta glucan out. You can do that. You can measure them, how much polyphenol in it, etc. Sure, this part is commercially sensitive. How you can do that, but you can certainly. As scientists, to do this type of work, it's not that terrible hard. So you can make your recipe to pull them out, give the concentration, test their effect, make my worm live longer, or make the immune more stronger to defend the foreign invasion.
Dad, can I ask, how do you give a worm like the foreign invasion to see how well it's going to cope? Do you have tests for worms?
Yeah, we have all the tests for the worms. We can see the worm, we call it sea alligators in biology. Sea alligators are tiny. You can visualize their behavior. They move around. They go somewhere to find food that they can learn. They learn where the good food is. They know where the bad food is. They live. They have 306 neurons. Not like us, have got millions. They are simple, but easy to see them. When they see them, when you have a little bit of contamination in there, so like you can see the cleaner, we call cleaner in their body come to take them out. We can use the technique to visualize the fellow coming in. It's actually the little protein coming in to take them out. You make this little fellow a little bit problem, the cleaner inside the body of the worm. They started to accumulate those debris. The system started to go down with the aging. This exactly happened in a human. The fellow finds this little thing in our body called a cleaner. It's called autophagy. Yeah, autophagy. Autophagy means trying to take away those dust in our body. They get damaged. We live in shock. Then we started getting wrinkles, cells getting older, gray hair, all that start to come out. If you can make them work harder, that's what I want to do in my lab. Then we can live happier and longer. So actually in lab you can extract them a lot. You can machine them, make them. There are plenty of techniques in the lab. Another thing, for example, those extracted molecules you can coat on the. You can coat on a little particle. You see, we have coated my student coated a little beta glucan into the particle. This is talking about nano, very small size. Then you can pack them into a little capsule as a drug delivery. Because the size goes small, the surface getting bigger. This is the physics. When they're getting bigger, you use very little has a huge effect. compared to you have to eat 400 or 3 to 400 grams of oats. It's very hard to swallow if you have too much. Now you can use very tiny little to deliver. So this is another technology we are using. We encapsulate them. When they get into the stomach, because our stomach is pretty acid, they destroy the first layer. When they get in the gut, destroy another layer until to the colon. For people who have a colon cancer, we want to deliver at a particular site and have the bacteria in the colon, which is very unique, different from all other places. They can eat those capsules, punch little holes, and drug can come out. It's all chemical. That's there. Until to there, they started to release.
And is that being developed?
And also we can coat other drugs as well with this beta-glucan as a carrier. So that's why we developed some drugs. This is a series of paper we published in human trial with obesity, type 2 diabetes. We published in those are most of the US journals. So this is Amphotovian in my lab. We made those products. Eventually, if you go to see in the supermarket, the beta glucan with the red tick, good for your heart. It's come from my lab. Yeah. Then also Australian government put this my labs into the Australian food guideline for taking the beta. How much you need? 3 to 7 grams per day. Good for your heart and then whole
But
plan
only if
for the
they're
country.
particular oats, if they're not grown in the right place, they won't have that.
Yeah, you have to have the good market quality control.
Yeah.
Absolutely. For someone just made holiday, it's very low. So the general claim for it's not correct. It's just not correct.
So where do the Australian oats fit into your comparative study?
The Australian
So
oats-
Taiwan were kind of the lowest,
We found the best is still from Queensland.
the best Australian ones.
From Queensland. From Queensland. The hot. Another concept is because the thinking is this. Thinking is very simple. Let's see. Queensland can be very hot. The oats, they don't die. And then other plants very robust. They can survive. Then you start asking why. Why they can cope? Can we cope? If we cannot cope, can we ask them to help us? That's the idea. Therefore, if we think a bit more on that, the oats, even tree outside, they have skin. They have skin outside. Can protect them. If we remove their skin, they will die. You will say something in the skin must be good. If that is good, can protect them from die, from oxidize, can we take them out? Can we make them a cream for our face, even protect from sunburn? So that we are doing something like that, can protect UV vision, all that. The concept is very simple, actually. So therefore, we can make quite a product. So another thing our lab really doing is about this. When we're getting older, our memory, learning memory goes down. How are we going to improve that? Even normal aging, Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, depression. How can we improve our memory and learning cope with the day-to-day job? Here's one from my study. Just want to give you an example. So basically what we did was we extracted the beta glucan, feed the mice on high fat diet, cafeteria diet. Australian oats. Then we figured out how the oats works. And then in the brain, how they protect our brain cells. Those are just the experiments. So we're trying to reverse the gut. So this is the theory. So this was made in the US after we published our results in a top journal. It's called Microbiome. They actually made this little video to show to the YouTube or whatever they we published this paper in 2020. So that's the company.
It's great,
right?
isn't it?
Yeah. How?
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Can I ask, in that last piece of what you're saying, cognitive impairment, if the cognitive impairment is actually due to an intellectual disability rather than a disease, I'm making an assumption from what you've already said about inflammation being a big factor in the brain.
Yeah.
So if somebody has a cognitive disability, an intellectual disability, if they change their diet, is it as equally able to have the same effect in terms of reducing inflammation and improving cognition?
Excellent question. My answer to that is this. Number one, I want to talk about the personalized medicine. I don't think one thing will treat. There's no such silver bullet for everything. Now, to do that, which I already started actually, to take the thesis. Just do it before, do the whole gene sequencing. It's a huge expensive, $1,000. Not today. A couple hundred, $150, $200, you can do the whole genome sequencing. So easy. Then you find out there's microbiome problems. Then you provide the diet. Particularly, we know when you eat the oat beta glucan, and which group of bacteria will grow, which will be bad. I think we proved the good bacteria grow, the bad bacteria were suppressed. So if we find this person has a problem, we give them, you have a better chance to help this person. However, non-nutrients will be can take as a cure for the disease. Is to help. Therefore, a combination, for example, the pharmacological, the drug therapy, the living nutrition, even some environmental, as well as those exercise, music therapy, we call them game therapy, a combination, give them a variety. That's the better answer to the question. To deal
So
with.
it can play a
Definitely.
role in improving
Yeah,
outcomes for people,
absolutely.
but it's not the whole.
So what can improve the person's ability for cognition? We done that, we believe that. But the person and the person, they are different, can be different. Someone responds better than others. But overall, we have statistics to demonstrate it's good. That's the.
And is that regardless of how much damage there might be in the brain? Like say somebody has a tremendous stroke or something and loses a lot, you can still kind of improve the chances of what they have left using information what you're doing?
Absolutely. To take this as an example, person has stroke. That's a huge stress to that particular individual. Physically and also mentally, it's a stress. Because they got a stroke. Then, when you analyze bound trees, the complete community, their community changes. Now, if you do not correct them, they will feedback to cause the more problems to recovery. Therefore, this, if you take a proper diet, it will help them. This is the point. Irrespective of what the disease, as I said before, even the depression or Alzheimer's, as long as they have the inflammation, stress, this will help them.
The problem is though, I think.
Yeah.
The problem is that people that tend to have some of these issues, and I have both family connections and I work with people with disability and mental health problems. And I think that often the medication, a side effect of the medication can be that they crave particular types of food, which I think then almost has this, and maybe changes the mood, so they don't want to eat a particular, the healthy foods, so people with bipolar or schizophrenia, anyone on these antipsychotics or even major depression.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to know, because I think that that's really difficult to say dietary, fiber, and all of these. I think that's really great knowledge. Is there a way to kickstart that? When you're talking about the fecal transplant with the depression, but the reverse of that, I know there's a lot of study into.
Absolutely.
Is this where your talk is going?
Yeah, exactly.
I think
plug hole.
yeah,
That's good.
I often think about,
Yeah.
it's the kickstart that's required to just enable someone to take a step above the side effects of all those medications or whatever, to give them a platform to improve.
Exactly. So we already done a couple. One study was on people with type 2 diabetes with the complication of neuropathy, with a fecal transplantation, and a huge improvement.
Could I just quickly, fecal transplantation, is that?
So the healthy, basically the flora of a healthy person would be very different in the gut to that of someone with a number of conditions.
So it's harvested.
So you can harvest that from one person
Yeah, and they
and put in the
actually,
gut of the other person.
Yeah.
and it can change personalities. They've talked, there's supposedly leaps with people with autism and, treatment.
Yeah, that's actually.
So my question though, can I jump on this, because we talk about taking probiotics to change your gut flora,
Yeah.
and we've talked about this before about how the number of probiotics in my capsule compared to the number in my body is like drops in an ocean.
Yeah.
Would you not have to do a massive fecal transplant then?
Well, there's a wonderful insight program from SBS that they did on this topic. It must have been 4 or 5 years ago. I don't know if we'd be able to find it online. It's really interesting, and people who have had it, and talking about their children and personality changes, things like that. So, because of the way that you're doing it, going
Directly.
not down orally, the other way.
From that?
It has a different impact to taking probiotics.
Yeah, yes, the concept is you change their community, or you change the individual microbiome. Like if you take the probiotics, the concept you might change the bacteroides, something like that. You can buy an alternate too, but not as a community. They actually form a surviving community. Yeah, trillions, many different species there. So the way, for example, today I was talking about is not called a probiotic, it's called prebiotics. Actually, we can change this fiber into another name called a bacteria accessible fiber. They eat this type of fiber. Those type of bacteria they love this type of fiber because that's what they eat. human cannot use them. We don't have an enzyme. So therefore, to keep your good bacteria grow. That's number 2. Number 3 is about this fecal transplantation. The fecal transplantation, we can do that in mice. We did already in the paper. I thought I removed it, it's not, I didn't take it, it's not. But very simple. What do? Just give them what's called wide spectrum antibiotics. Not only one time, wide spectrum, you kill all the bacteria in one day in a few hours. Then you give this fecal transplant. It's not a fecal transplant, it's called fecal transplant. In fact, it's the fecal, you have to take out all the toxic material, LPS, polysaccharide, all that has been filled out, all the physics and the stuff filled out. You only keep their bacteria community. Then this will come from the very healthy individual, young, healthy, no disease for the last 3 to 5 years, even not a cold. This is not just a normal fecal transplant. There's a company now making those things. Then you just inject from the rectal. Then you just wash them out and put it there. Then the question is, this is one off.
That was my next question. If you do it once? No.
You have to do them, every couple of months.
Doesn't retain.
That will not retain. This individual doesn't let those the foreign ones come to stay there. But with the time goes by, well, eventually they will take it. We don't know yet, but we are doing that. Actually, this compared with many surgeries, this is nothing.
Yeah.
This is not too invasive.
Yeah.
This is just it's nothing. So we just wash it and put it in. Patient can recover, particularly for those the kids with ADHD. That's nothing. We can improve that. We do not even call it too much invasive. We do not cut anything. So
Not the side effects of PES drug.
yeah. If they don't like it, they can push out. So they're quite the same. Actually, I'm very supportive if we go down that path. If we can cure this disease. So I think this is an absolutely good idea, but where we end up, we don't know. We have to see when the time goes by. Yeah. But certainly our gut bacteria brings something to us. Depression is one. Another one I'm going to show here is the obesity. If we take a very severe obese person's physics, you don't do anything. You just 2 mice there, they eat their whatever we call actual food, normal food. You just put that microbiome into a mice, we call nude mice, that do not have the immune system. They become obese. So it's the same thing. You don't need to give them high fat anything. They just become obese. So they are doing something there. It's not easy to dissect individual. Maybe they work on as a community rather than an individual.
Yeah.
Because the probiotic results vary substantially. It's inconclusive. Actually.
And is that therapy available in Australia now, or is it still?
Still pretty early, but only for the last, I don't know, only 35 years, still in the research stage. Mainly for those severe out of control, particularly, the best pill, even treating schizophrenia antipsychotic, pretty good pill these days. But if you reach 60% efficacy, that's a magic pill, we call it.
60%.
Yeah, 60% is still a magic pill. That's a brilliant pill. Still have left nearly 40%.
40% stranded.
They have lived like that for the next 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
That's the fact. They're just there. It doesn't work for them. The medical, that's what the medical is. That's what I said, how many diseases can be completely cured? Tell me, not many. We can slow down. We can, treat the symptoms. So, let's see here. I'll give you one example. here. Look at the little mice there. On your left-hand side, and the right-hand side. The mice are natural creature. Make a nest. You see there? The cotton right in the middle. They want to sleep there. This is the normal mice. That's what they do. If they have this obesity, you feed them high saturated fat diet, maybe them, after a couple of months, they're really fat. They don't care. They just leave it. They do not tighten them up. They do not do anything. They just, we call this a behavior problem then. Not only one, if you do 20 mice, they do the same thing. However, if we feed them with my extraction of our extraction of beta glucan, they started to do something there, but not completely. It's not I have to admit they are not 100% like that with a nice nest. They are started doing something. Therefore, some improvement. There. This was published in top journal in the US. And then here you see their behavior. This is a normal mice. You put the two things there. What do you put there? Put a toy in a box on the bottom. One is a little horse. Another one put a square in a cube, whatever. And there are two things there. You put this one first. Another one, they never seen it. Another corner. After that, you know what happened to the mice? They're coming in. They say, oh, I didn't. I know that one. You told, I knew already. I will spend more time to look at what is this? What is going on there? I spend more time there. However, if the one with the cognitive deficits, they don't care which one you put in. Now, you with this new developed material we developed from beta glucan, they started to explore it back again. Not 100%. We have to report the truth. They're getting better. Yeah. But that's why they're getting published in top journal in the US. Then you see there. You see that one measure of many. Take the one example. You can measure them. You can measure very quickly. A couple of weeks, you can see the effect. Oh, this is you can go through a single. That's why this looks pretty simple, but costs us tens of thousands of dollars to do that, to sequence every single gene in the microbiome. But the government funded that. So we try to figure out, give the real scientific truth, if it really works, or you just made up. But you have to provide the evidence. And not only that, we call it leaking gut. There's a gut, when you have a problem, microbiome problem, they have a leaking gut. So what does that mean? So this is looking at the membrane. In the gut, you always have bacteria. You have toxic material in the feces. There's no doubt about that. But how come we are good? We do not take those poison because we have the single layer of that blue thing. We call it mucus. This is the very sticky, the mucus, to smear on the top of the gut. The gut only has one layer of cells. We call epithelial cells to protect the gut. You cannot leak. If the two cells start to separate, the poison will go in. But on the surface, as you make this wall, you put the cement on top. This is mucus. You need that to protect anything going inside your blood system. You see that the bluish things? We can demonstrate that. With the people with the problems, or the mice with the cognitive deficits, you see that layer is very thin. The things can go in, causing the toxic material, go through the system, causing the inflammation. After our product, the bacteria will eat them, good bacteria eat them, that produce mucus. They started to seal your gut. Nothing can go in. That's how the science provides evidence can support the product is effective for the people. This is from very high magnification to show how even go into the brain. we can see actually this is a bit complicated, but the single cells can eat another cell. They call it immune cells eat your neural network. To protect that, we provide evidence how they can protect your neural network connectivity. And then also when you start with learning and memory, this is the electron microscopy. You can magnify it to I don't know, it's a very big magnifications to see a single cell, not only single cell, only learning memory information exchange. You can see there. You see electron microscopy, you can see how that change. The thicker on this side, and it's meaning the more powerful for you to learn, to remember. You can store your information in your brain. So Uncle Toby loved it. Uncle Toby made those eventually made those product, but failed to sell in Australia and in Europe. Eventually, I said, Huang, you're a good scientist, but you're not a very good businessman. Why not? Why? He said, can't make like what you want. Too expensive. Nobody's gonna buy it. Give more talk to the people to buy it. I said, I will do it. This is the first time I can do it.
But where can we buy it?
Nobody invited me.
And where do you buy it?
No,
They're not making it anymore.
not making it. The good, we had like nearly 200 local from Wollongong people taking it with options results.
Yeah.
But that's funded by Uncle to that give me nearly $400,000 to do that. When I started to sell, too expensive. Then eventually they reported the government and made a red tick on their product. That's all they got. But they're still very happy. They said, we got a red tick, beta glucan, good for your health.
Yeah, but it's not.
But there's no product.
No.
It's just too expensive to make them. Maybe somewhere can make them cheaper.
Can we make it ourselves?
Certainly can, but they're too expensive.
No, just for our own consumption.
That's cool.
But they need some the lab and all those facilities. I was there, they're making them. I was trying to looking for somewhere I can make them. But you know, this too expensive. They are good, but you have to get people. They couldn't help people to buy it. that's the thing. You buy it, you know. That's like
I think it'd be really easy to tell people that, you know, improve their brain health.
yeah.
And their gut. And their mood.
Yeah.
Yeah, but getting oats that actually work.
Yes.
I mean, I'm eating my oats, but
Yeah.
you know, it's half a kilo.
I'm eating oats and blueberries.
Yeah, but you know, sometimes it might be eating rubbish oats.
I could be.
Yeah.
And helps keep us healthy. What is less known is that beta-glucan is scientifically proven to strengthen the immune system. The immune system has two components,
Thanks.
the innate and the acquired.
That's mine.
Beta-glucan
What I want to show you in this is really the chemical structure beside the function. So where you got this from is very different. But in this case, those come from the mushroom or from the yeast. In this particular one, come from the mushroom. Mushroom you can extract because they also got the wall. On the surface, you can extract this out from the mushroom, which is different from the oats because of the connection. As I said at the very beginning, they are different. Just twist a little bit. But somehow when the twist a little bit, push out a little structure, that structure can be recognized by our immune system. Here is the story.
It's well known that the immune system protects us from foreign invaders and helps keep us healthy. What is less known is that beta-glucan is scientifically proven to strengthen the immune system. The immune system has two components, the innate and the acquired. Beta-glucan works to activate both. In the innate immune system, beta-glucan binds with the macrophages. The macrophages are a type of white blood cell whose job is to detect intruders and coordinate the body's defenses against them. When activated by beta-glucan, macrophages go on high alert, and their ability to identify and destroy foreigners is heightened. Through a process called phagocytosis, macrophages devour invaders like Pac-Man. Research shows that macrophages fortified by beta-glucan are body's other defenders. Together, the macrophages and the cells of the acquired immune system join the fight. Using the information transmitted from the macrophages, B cells begin producing antibodies and T cells, which are specialized cells trained to kill the invaders. The antibodies, working with the innate immune system, bind foreigners into clusters. The clusters are then engulfed by macrophages and destroyed. This is how the immune system rids the body of harmful invaders. The health and strength of your immune system directly affects your body's ability to protect itself. Beta-glucan can support your immune system and help it achieve peak performance.
Right. The most successful cases in using this type of beta glucan is the cancer prevention and treatment. When the cancer cells they develop, it's because they have the gene mutation, make them those cells immortal. They grow. This is the root of the cancer. It's out of control. The cells need to refresh. When they start to refresh in a normal condition, normal process, you produce the same cells, maybe slightly different, to the young you had cells before. However, 1,000 or million, somehow they made the wrong one. And when I made the wrong one, particularly they mutated this death gene, the your cell will die, you have to die, then replace it with new one. But when they somehow didn't produce this properly, they made this cell not going to die. This is called immortal cells. From 1 to logarithmically grow very fast. They invade everywhere and kill people. That's the trick. That's the whole trick. So you got to clean those cells. Who is going to clean the cells? Your immune system. The cancer cells, somehow they can train the immune cells. Immune cells not going to recognize. This is called immune escape. They're going to go everywhere. Otherwise, they have to stay in one place, not going anywhere. So people were not going to die, just alone, local. But they spread. The immune system cannot recognize them. Therefore, this beta-glucan with this one has been proven clinically very useful to train the immune cells to recognize cancer cells, trying to kill them. But again, they are not really the cure, but they can prolong the people's life because they want to shrink them, slow down their movement to the brain, to other heart, and other places. So this is another good example. Therefore, those type of pure drugs, very expensive, very, very expensive, but actually can train your immune system for the cancer prevention and treatment, particularly in early stage, from mushroom. Also, I was doing probably it's too short. We don't have enough time to explain everything. This is just I was also doing particularly the things for the cognition. Well, this can also can be good for the cancer therapy because they can slow down the vessel, the blood vessel proliferation. They grow because when the cancer grows, they really need nutrition. From here, they grow faster than anything else. They need a lot of blood. So therefore, the cancer cells make some factors make this place grow a lot of blood vessels because they want to have a nutrition grow fast. But those drugs can stop them to do that. Here just need to show off. Those are my books.
Yay!
I have 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, couple books. All related to brain health. It took me a long time, 20, 30 years. But I was still not too bored. I'm still working on it.
Very good.
Okay, thank you. That's probably
That's
all.
it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Yes, if there's any other pressing questions, I mean, there's probably a lot there for us to digest.
I know.
A lot of digestion, pun intended, to digest.
Yes. But I don't know, Dad, every time you talk, you give me new things to think about, so I really appreciate you coming
Oh, thank you.
and
Thank
chatting
you.
with my friends and
Yeah.
those that will be listening after the board meeting and after the deep ecology meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always struck too by the difference between what I'm being sold by other doctors or on the shelves of the supermarket versus the actual effect it will have on my body, so it's a timely reminder to be aware of that.
The reputation of the market is not really terrible. There are a lot of the fake claims.
Is it better in other countries?
Probably everywhere. Probably, yeah, I haven't really looked into other countries. For my lab, it's easy. I got all the facilities to check. But for other countries, yeah, it's hard. It's big money there. People do go there buy. Whether you get what you want.
You'd be more likely to buy it in Europe as, genuine,
Exactly. That needed some government to regulate the market. It's not a big, small job. Make sure you buy what they claim.
If there was one thing to look for in our oats,
Yeah.
what would we, when we go to the supermarket and we buy the cheapest bag of whole oats I can buy, is there something on that ingredients list which is going to tell me that these oats are better than the Toby's whole oats?
I like them to claim beta glucan.
Beta gluten, okay.
Yeah, sometimes they do how much beta glucan they contain.
Okay,
They do claim.
they actually do.
Yeah, in the.
What's a good minimum for that?
For me, in the clinical trial, they think it's too expensive. It's just 3 to 7 grams that really work. I promise it will work. Because I did that 200 patients in Wollongong, that worked.
So if we were able to find oats which have beta gluten at
Gluten.
3,
Yeah.
beta
Beta glucan.
G-L-U-C-A-N.
gluten, sorry.
Yeah.
Gluten.
Like
Yeah.
glucose.
There's no toxicity, no side effect.
Yeah.
It's a very safe natural product.
Yeah.
3-7% would be the
37 grams per day. Normally, in Europe, they have 20% of the beta in this, but it's very, yeah, they are very expensive. But in Australia, it can be quite cheap if you buy those. They sell you in $1.50 in clothes. I measured about 6%, and then 1/4 for Europe. But you need to eat a lot, but at least you have something there.
How much, when you say you need to eat a lot, how much oats do you have to eat if you're going to get it from the oats?
We said 200, no, we can't eat them like 200 grams, that's too hard. Therefore, we're trying to extract them.
Yeah.
And one pill will be enough. But that can be very cheap too. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Very good.
Dad?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
If more time, we have another time to have more
Yeah,
chat.
absolutely.
If you are interested in something very specific topic, yeah.
Thank you, Dad.
Sure.